Thank you for tuning into my channel. It's Stuart again. Golden middle distance races. I'm going to review another race from the golden age of middle distance running. You know what my views are. Coe, Cram and Ovett. In my opinion, the three best milers of all time, I believe at their best, on a level playing field. They would have beaten anybody, El Garouge included. I mean, take out the PEDs, level playing field, you know, same spikes and everything, same tracks. I believe at their best they would have beaten anybody. So that's my opinion. You can disagree if you want, and let's go ahead with this. So this race is Steve Ovett, 1 week before he went off to the Olympics to face Sebastian Coe. We had the Oslo meet, and he was going in the 1500 meters. So it was a boycotted games, so this was quite a significant 1500 meters. A lot of the athletes who would not be going to Moscow, sadly, they won't be going. Vessinghager, for example, John Walker, Steve Scott, you know, some really great milers. Unfortunately, the futile boycott completely, in a way, messed up the Moscow games. But really, the middle distance racing, the 800 and the 1500, were all about finally getting to see Ovett and Coe race. So nobody really could beat Coe or Ovett before or after the Olympics, with the exception of Dom Page right at the end of the 1980 season, narrowly beating Seb Coe in a fairly meaningless 800 meter race by fractions, couple of inches. So let's see what happens then, and I'll give some input into the race as we go.
Is the one man who said he wants to meet them. There'll be no US threats in the Olympic Games. He wants to
bear in mind, Ovett is at his absolute pinnacle, really, in 1980 and 1981. I mean, he'd been the best miler in the world since 1977. 78 he had a great season, 79 of course, 1980 the Olympic year. So he was at the absolute peak of his confidence. We saw him later on, after the church railings incident, not being the masterful runner that he was, like in the final of the World Championship 1500 meters. He was not masterful in that race at all, and I'm fairly sure that the Ovett of 1980 would have taken charge of that race and made sure he won it. But you know, that church railings incident was really quite significant, and a lot of people have said it. He was never the same runner again, even though he did have some great runs after that, but not many really. So let's get going with this race a bit. I'll fast forward it a bit just to get going. Here we are, they're on the line. There they go. So the way they've gone off there, you can see they've gone off fast. I'm not sure what was going on behind the scenes, but I can imagine they set it up. I hate it when they do that. I mean, interrupting a premium event like the 1500 meters with a pole vault, but never mind. Yeah, so they obviously had some discussion behind the scenes, and it was set up to be a fast race. I think Ovett wanted to run fast. He wanted to. Obviously, Coe had been breaking records, and I've chosen this race because it was Ovett's first world record, I believe. I think so. He broke the world mile record. I can't remember. Was that in 80 or 8? I think he broke Coe's. Yeah, in 1981 he broke Coe's world record for the mile. So he's going after Coe's time of 332.2, 332.1 effectively. And we can see here Ovett's in a good position. He's in second place, and actually the picture quality is not very good, but that looks like Steve Scott in the lead. I give credit to Steve Scott. You know, he liked it. He liked fast races, and you know, he's putting out a really good pace here. And probably if Steve Scott hadn't been in this race, there might not have been a world record. So it's good to have a top-class miler like Steve Scott to do that pacemaking work, because Scott knows he's not going to win, but he wants to run a fast time. He probably wants to get a personal best himself. Maybe he's dreaming that he can win, that finally he's going to beat Ovett in one of Ovett's peak years, which of course he never did. So it's about 1:53 at 800 actually, which is fairly quick. It's really spot on for a fast time. It's the kind of time which has led to a sort of 3:30ish. But the third lap has always been the crucial lap in many races. We've seen two fast first laps, like say 1:52, and then we've seen a 60-second third lap, which has completely scuppered any chance of a world record, because obviously it hurts and it's not easy to keep going at that pace. Now this is interesting, 2:36 at the bell. In Nice off 2:36, Cram ran 3:29. Think about that. Think about how amazing Cram was in 85. And I think that had Ovett gone earlier, I think he probably could have run the same time. But he's being cautious and he's not... Okay, finally he's going. Look at the way he goes. He could have gone at 300 out like Cram did. And he could have run 3:30, 3:31. Yeah, so he's looking very, very comfortable here. He really should have smashed the world record. It's another one of those occasions when you think, you know, I mean, he's waving his hand. That's actually robbed him of probably 0.1, 0.2. So there he goes, through with confidence. I mean, really, he's not really run it like a world record attempt. That's the thing. He's run it like he did in Dusseldorf when he won impressively there. He's gone at 200 meters out, made it look really impressive, and he's not treated it as a world record attempt. Had he done so, if he'd really gone for it on that last lap and run like Cram did, running 53 seconds off the last lap from a 2:36, if he'd done that, you know, then we would have been looking at around 3:30ish. But because he left it and he just ran it as per his instincts as somebody who just wants to win races, not necessarily set records, he went with 200 meters to go very impressively. Obviously had plenty in reserve. Still, he actually, I understand he ran, it was rounded up to 3:32.1. His exact time was, I think, 3:30. I think it was 3:32.09 or something. Somebody can correct me. It was rounded up to 3:32.1 in the days when they rounded up, and they also rounded Coe's 3:32.02 was rounded up also to 3:32.1. So they were joint world record holders. But let's face it, in reality, no, it was counted as a world record for Ovett, and it does count as a world record because they were the rules in those days. But they changed it so that hundredths of a seconds were counted right down to the last hundredth of a second. Otherwise, when Joachim Cruz ran 1:41.75, him and Coe both would have been credited with the world record. As it was, Coe got to hold the world record on his own because he'd been a few hundredths faster. Yeah, so here are the times. Here's the official result. Ovett 3:32.09, as I thought, rounded up to 3:32.1. That's counted as equaling the world record. Thomas Westinghager, fantastic run by him, 3:33.16. That's a German national, West German national record. John Walker was third, running an excellent 3:33.31. Steve Lacey, very good time, just under 3:34. Graham Williamson, who unfortunately through injury. So yeah, Graham Williamson, 3:35.72. Todd Harbour. Steve Scott faded. That's the price he paid for the excellent pacemaking that he did. 3:36.2. I'm sure he must have been disappointed with that. So there are the results anyway. Hope you found that interesting. That was a very high quality race. If you think that four men were inside 3:34 and Wessinghager set a national record, West German national record. It was a very high quality race. Thanks for being with me. I'll be back again with another race very soon. Bye for now.